Hey, Flippin' Landlord Ninja here.
Kevin, the property prince.
So we're here to talk about giving access or not giving access to basements, and especially in your multifamily apartments.
Yeah, absolutely. Believe it or not, this is somehow a controversial topic, and a lot of people don't understand what we're talking about when we say, no, you don't have access to the basement at your home.
Yeah, so for all of our apartments that are multi-units, we do not allow basement access for multiple reasons, and I think the biggest thing is safety. I mean, I think, kind of overarching theme, right?
Yeah, protecting people and property. So the safety of both things, absolutely.
Yeah, so kind of talking on that point a little bit, I would say that one of the biggest things that we see safety-wise is access to breakers for people to actually kind of wedge them open, or for instance, maybe getting access to their water heater and playing with the temperature.
Right, absolutely. There's a variety of reasons we think it's just absolutely crazy idea to allow tenants to have access to that type of infrastructure, the mechanicals of a property. And don't forget, we're talking about all styles of property here. We're not just talking about single-family houses or multi-family houses or apartment buildings. It could be a blend of all of that. But if you rent an apartment building and it's a 20-unit building, it's pretty normal, right? It doesn't seem surprising that a tenant wouldn't have access to the basement and to those types of systems.
Yeah,
right?
generally, I think.
Right. So thinking about it this way, why should it be any different if the building consists of only 2 or 3 units, a multifamily house? Why really should it make any difference to anybody?
Right. No, I agree. I just, I think the biggest thing in here is some of the larger buildings, like you were talking about 20-unit buildings, maybe they have one heating system. Well, now you have a 3-family that has 3 heating systems. So 3 more points of failure, 3 more points of issues that they can, play with the furnace. Maybe it's kind of constantly cycling through, and so they trip out one of the safety devices, and now all of a sudden, it creates a carbon monoxide issue, or creates overheating issue and a fire. I mean, these are the kind of things that happen.
Absolutely, they absolutely happen, and who gets blamed for that? I mean, 100% when there's a carbon monoxide leak because the heating system wasn't working properly, when there's an electrical fire, a failed circuit breaker, all those kind of things, you can absolutely bet on it that the property owner and their insurance policy are the ones being looked at for that issue. So,
right. Well, and then who's actually getting damaged, though? I mean, besides the owner of the property, but also the tenant. I mean, they're potentially hurting themselves, their family, and the other tenants in the building.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, time and time again, I have to go out and I have to deal with the folks at our properties in the field, and this is exactly what I tell them. I said, you may be okay with putting your family at risk, but I'm not okay with you putting all the other families at risk, as well as my property that I worked really, really hard on.
So, we have a couple topics on, or actually recent issues that happened up on it with that one. So we have a property, for instance, in Springfield area that it's a 2-family where they don't have basement access to their utilities, but they actually have access to the exterior. And one of the heating system there actually has a vent out there, and the tenant called in about no hot water. Oh my God, system's not working. We go over there, we test it, it's failed. We're like, crap. We've got to replace this heating system.
And it's, an emergency situation. You can't just not replace a heating system or hot water system, whatever, and have it take weeks and weeks to do. You have to do it on an emergency basis.
Yeah, and they actually got it done in like 24 hours. Brand new heating system. So our cost, roughly about $3,500. And lo and behold, we fire up the brand new heating system. Still not working. There's some issue going on. And so the installer's kind of searching, figuring out what's going on, and looks at the vent pipe and pulls out a towel. Towel from the vent pipe.
You can't make this crap up. I mean, you just can't.
And yeah, so basically when talking to the tenant about the situation, she's like, well, I thought it was the vent for her washer and dryer, the dryer vent. And she was like, well, and there was flies and stuff like that, which was all caused by the trash that was unfortunately sitting outside the property.
Of course it was, right?
And so she decided to shove a towel in there, thinking she was going to stop the flies coming in through that way to the house, as opposed to
clean up the trash. No, that doesn't happen.
So now she destroyed the heating system. We had to pay for a brand new one, and now we have. Not only that, she endangered her family because carbon monoxide could have been, pouring into the house and killed someone. So,
Yeah. And as a landlord, you hold strict liability for this kind of stuff. So, I mean, this isn't even the kind of thing most people would find if they did routine inspections. But I mean, it's not crazy for a landlord. I mean, it's not crazy for a landlord to not do weekly or monthly inspections that are that in depth. So the likelihood of getting that caught or noticed pretty slim. I mean, it's something that a tenant can do. And that's on the exterior of a property. I mean, unless we're not even restricting access there, all the more reason where there's just so much expensive infrastructure stuff in your home, in your properties, that is in the basement, and we need to be careful and restrict access to it.
Well, so that yeah, all safety and stuff like that. But there's another thing, theft of services, which
big time.
Yep. So we have actually another incident that happened where.
Well, we've got lots of incidents that have happened. We're choosing a couple.
Choosing a few of them.
We could sit here for an hour. We won't, I promise.
Yep. No one wants to hear you talk that long.
It's a shame.
But so yes, we had another property. It's a 4-family, and one of the tenants was thinking they were a little smarter than they were. They actually cut someone's hot water line and ran water over to their shower with PEX.
Sounds pretty smart to me. What a bargain.
Yeah, because they had their gas turned off and couldn't turn it back on. So they thought, I'm going to steal someone else's gas and hot water.
So you're telling me, wait a minute. So a tenant had access to a basement, and they tampered with something down there that they shouldn't have? Who would imagine such a thing? Who would imagine?
Yep.
And is that something that's easily noticeable? I mean, are you going to see that when you walk through a basement as a landlord?
No, honestly,
Right.
I mean, you wouldn't have known if they, tacked up the lines and stuff like that. No one's going to really go look for that. I mean, why would you think that was happening?
Right. And of course, when the neighbor calls eventually, the gas company or whoever about their high bill, they're going to say, you used a lot more. Maybe you should take shorter showers. I mean, you're not going to investigate it and trace lines half the time. I mean, it just doesn't happen.
How much real extra usage was it? Depends on how much they use. I mean, it's hard to really gauge that. And
Right.
so
Absolutely.
you mostly just brush it off as it's not a big deal.
So tenants, when they have access to the basement, they have the ability to tamper with things.
Yep.
And cause potentially damage to themselves or the property itself and their neighbors.
Yep.
They have the ability to tap in and splice into systems. Splicing into circuit panels, I would imagine, is pretty easy. They're often right next to each other.
Correct.
Stealing your neighbor's power or even power from the owner's meter, right? Because who wouldn't love to just take it from the landlord a little bit more? So, those all seem like pretty smart reasons to restrict access to a basement.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what is the biggest thing that, we get kind of pushback on, why that is
It's
ridiculous?
It's amazing that this concept is that difficult to understand to so many people, and why we're recording this, because I'm just so used to explaining it bullet point by bullet point at this point, is that whether it's a member of a legal staff, court staff, we've had city and town officials, code enforcement type, board of health type people who don't understand and actually become a little offended, it seems, that we wouldn't allow our tenants to go into the basement, because one of the things that's down there are the circuit breakers for their apartment, along with the circuit breakers for all the other apartments. And they just don't understand. Why the heck won't you let them have access to their own breakers? They're their breakers. They should have access to them. What if the circuit gets tripped and they need to reset it? What are they supposed to do?
Well, I mean, they should call us. And
They should.
Yeah, therefore, so a breaker trips. It's tripping for a reason.
Right. And that's the big thing we're going to have to touch more on, I think.
Yeah, another topic.
Yeah.
But basically, the way we set it up was we set up an emergency hotline that they can call, and we'll handle it within 24 hours. Usually much faster.
Just like any other emergency.
Yep.
If there's honestly, a circuit breaker, people are going to hate me for saying this, but I'm going to do it anyway because that's what I do. It's not really that much of an emergency, I'm sorry. If a circuit trips in your home, chances are, unless you live in a tent, you have more than one circuit in that home. So you're not...
A circuit breaker in your tent?
I don't know. It must be glamping. Is that a thing? No, but seriously, right? You have multiple circuits in any apartment. So people will call up to contact us. I have no power, right?
Yep.
I have no power. Everything's dark. Oh my God, I have no power. Nothing works.
Yep.
They absolutely have power. I mean, unless they really screwed up and tripped the main, which never happens.
Rarely happens.
Yeah. They absolutely have power. They tripped one 15 amp breaker because they screwed up. I mean, this is generally speaking.
Right. And so, I mean, I think really we get to that point where oh man, I'm lost it.
So, I mean, I think what he's trying to come up with is
sorry.
that, they contact us, we go out and we make a response to resolve it, and we do it well within 24 hours.
Yeah,
again,
we do a thorough investigation of what's going on, what tripped
we
it.
treat it like an emergency,
Correct.
even though, I think you could argue that it's not. But regardless, we still treat it like it is. Contractually with the tenants, we've agreed ahead of time that we'll resolve these things within 24 hours. So right before they move in or everything, they've agreed that response time is contractually fine and appropriate. On the other hand, we resolve these things usually much faster than 24 hours.
Oh, much faster.
Yeah.
Yes.
We do inspect for, to see if there's some type of obvious issue that we can see.
To make sure there's no safety issue,
Absolutely.
or if they're overusing it, help them understand why it tripped.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a general misunderstanding of what caused it, and we can talk about that.
That's a whole other video.
Exactly.
Seriously.
But basically just helping them understand how to stop it from happening again. And generally we see that mostly happening in the first month or two of a tenancy, as they're getting to kind of...
Yeah, I mean, look, we all rent to different types of tenants. There's all different types of tenants out there, and some folks get it a little quicker than others, and some folks just, you can, no matter what you do to explain, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, kind of a thing. Okay. If somebody's using, a curling iron and a hair dryer or whatever people use, Matt, you're the professional when it comes to using hair maintenance equipment. And it trips their breaker, it's easy for them to identify what did it. It's easy for us to help them identify and talk about what did it, and then it's easy for them in the future to not repeat that behavior. But then there's just the other type of folks who just literally will continue doing that and never understand. No matter how many times you say it, they'll just always blame you somehow that it's your fault.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that another time.
100%. But we go through all that kind of stuff with them. We help give them the coaching that they need, the feedback. We analyze the situation. We make sure that their power is fully restored.
Yep.
And we move on. And usually it's not that much of a repeat issue. Again, most people get it. Most people don't repeat the behavior. If there actually is a maintenance issue that needs to be resolved, we resolve it.
Well, and once again, I mean, I guess like the whole concept that, oh my God, they can't reset their breaker instantly. You have a blackout from power loss.
I know.
I mean, we just had one, a couple weeks ago.
For days.
And some people had for days.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
oh my God, did they survive?
Yeah.
They were fine, right?
Absolutely. Seriously, be prepared. Seriously. Everybody will quickly tell you that everything in their house is out. It's almost certainly not. They're going to tell you that they have all these breathing machines and all these important life-saving devices and all this other stuff. They probably don't. I've seen somebody refer to it as like they had like a vaporizer one time.
But once again, if it's just a breaker, most likely there's an outlet or two that work.
Plug it in somewhere else,
Exactly. So
they're being over dramatic. Again, I'm not saying don't respond to it. I'm not saying don't treat it like an emergency. Don't handle your responsibility. Do all those things, but don't get all frustrated and freaked out. Don't buy into the hype and the overblown, exaggerated situation at hand. But again, this is basement access.
Right.
Tripping a circuit breaker does happen. Usually with a better grade of tenant, if it happens a couple times, they've figured it out, they've learned from it. What else do we do regarding resetting a circuit breaker that a lot of tenants don't appreciate, but does help them learn?
What else we do? We also charge them a fee.
Yeah, we do. We charge them a fee. Ready for the hate to roll in on that one.
There you go.
Yeah, we charge them a fee. Absolutely.
Yep. Once again, I mean, maybe I don't want to kind of go on too much of the circuit breaker. We can talk about that another time. But yes, we charge a fee just to kind of create an understanding that it's an issue that they might have caused.
Yeah.
And so
fees can be waived, by the way.
Correct.
We can always figure that out too. But absolutely, it helps with that. So again, restricting basement access incredibly important. If you're not doing it, oh wow, what about what else is often in multifamily houses? What else is often located in appliance in a basement that tenants often have access to? Washer and dryer. Where are they going to do their laundry? Where are they going to do their laundry, Matt? Is that a whole other video?
That's a whole nother
video.
Buddy. Yeah.
Oh God. All right. So I guess stay tuned for next week when we'll probably talk about some other topic and forget we even left you with that cliffhanger.
I'll write it down.
Yeah, you will.
So recap real quick.
Yeah.
We highly recommend not doing basement access for all the reasons we just talked about, but mostly safety.
For property and for person.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And also theft of service.
Theft of service is a huge thing, tampering, all that type of stuff. And the thing is, there's really not that much of a need when you really think about it. What do you need to go into a basement for? If you're a tenant, and it may be to reset a tripped breaker, and that's something the management company takes on.
Exactly.
So, you know what? The few times you'll have to, especially if you're small, if you only have 10 units, you're not resetting that many breakers. And the money you save for just one heating system, like what we just recently had going down, but it could be anything else. One incident is a huge way to offset. So the small inconvenience that you can maybe recoup with a fee is well worth saving yourself a heating system or a hot water tank. Or oh my God, they turn up the heat in the hot water tanks.
Now you got a code compliance.
You got a code compliance. Somebody gets burned. Again, landlord. I mean, you fail an inspection when the city comes out, sees that your tank is cranked up to 100 and whatever they cranked to, 130, something crazy.
Sometimes I've seen 140.
Yeah, sure. And now, gosh, it's the bad landlord that caused someone in that household to get scalded. So you can't have that. And that's one way to prevent that from happening.
I agree. So, all right, I think let's wrap this up. But basically,
I can keep going. You want to keep going?
You can keep going,
No.
but we're not going to.
Right.
So please, if you have any comments or questions or hate mail,
let it come in.
Let it come in. Yep. But also subscribe, hit the like button, and
share it to other landlords. For the love of God, can we get some people
share
to listen to this words coming out of our mouths? I mean, we can just go on about these things. So
and I will stop it. So yes, we are wrapping here, but thank you so much.
Yeah, share.
Share.
Appreciate it.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.